Hi, I'm Darryl Burton, and I'm born in the city of St. Louis, on the west side. I'm the middle of 9 children. My mother had 7 boys and 2 girls, and I'm the darkest of all my brothers and sisters. Some would say black sheep by birth, and so I got teased a lot. I got called Oreo, chocolate chip, milk dud, midnight lights out, shoe rubber, you name it. Anything had something to do with being dark. I was teased and didn't like it. I didn't like my complexion. But my complexion, obviously, is something being ashamed of, and growing up with feeling a little bit inferior and insecure, became my saving grace many years later. And so what happened was the guy was pumping gas into his automobile one night, and a man approached him and shot and killed him. Another man who fit the description was about 5 feet 5, 5 feet 6 inches tall, medium to light skin, is what 3 or 4 people described to the police the night the crime was committed, which don't look anything like me because obviously I'm dark skinned. So I thought that would be 20, 24 hours, and they would realize that they had the wrong man and let me go. Never dreamed of returning to 24 years. And that's what happened. I was facing capital murder, I guess espionage and treason, so I was going to either receive life without parole or the death penalty if I get convicted. I saw my lawyer, who I say was a public pretender, because I saw this lawyer one time, had a 3-day trial, and was convicted in less than an hour. It just happened that quick, and so quick it'll make your head spin. As they brought me into the courtroom, and the judge and the prosecutor and the defense attorney, the public defender, and they had a sidebar and had a discussion about this other suspect who had shot the victim 3 times because they were feuding over drug turf. And I didn't find this out until after I was convicted and got the transcript. But what the judge, the prosecutor, and defense attorney agreed to was not to let the jury hear about this evidence of this other suspect, and they kept that away from the jury. So that was not justice. I was not a believing person at the time. I didn't believe in heaven, hell, angels, miracles, God, or anything like that. But I remember my grandmother told me years ago, one of these days I was going to need Jesus, and she said, I hope you remember to call on him. I didn't think that day would ever come. Well, obviously it came for me through the form of being wrongfully sent to prison for the crime of capital murder as an innocent man. And it took me many years to get through the hate and the anger and the unforgiveness with regards to what had happened to me. And so when they brought me over for sentencing, they waived the death penalty. They gave me life without parole for 50 years plus 25 years consecutive. And they sent me to Missouri State Penitentiary. So that meant I had to spend 75 years in prison. It's about 1984. I'm 22 years old. And you can do the math. 75 and 22, I would have been close to 100. But I said to the judge at the sentencing hearing, I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm going to fight this case till I prove that I'm innocent. And that's what I was challenged to do. The judge, which I told him, he was responsible. I said the court, the prosecutor, defense attorney, witnesses, police, the whole process was, just stacked against me. And I felt that they was framing me and confiscating my freedom. And that's what I told them. You're framing me. You letting these people come in here and perjure themselves and lie on me, and you're not doing anything. Well, the judge said that the jury was the one I should have been mad at because that's who found me guilty. And I just said, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to fight this case till I prove that I'm innocent. And so that's what I was challenged to do. I was sent to Missouri State Penitentiary, which is in Jefferson City, Missouri. It was described, we call it the Walls, but it was described by Time magazine as the bloodiest 47 acres in America. Because every day in that unit, without exaggeration, 2 or 3 men got stabbed every single day. It was an evil place. Top down, administrators, guards, people who worked there, some of them. Many inmates it was an evil experience. And when we came through the door, there was a huge banner that said, "Welcome to Missouri State Penitentiary. Leave all your hopes, family, and dreams behind." They gave us this prison number. They gave me this number 153063. That was like an identification, and that's what they referred to me as, Burton 153063. Report to your housing unit, report to the job site, report to the captain's office, whatever. And it was stamped on everything that was connected to me. Any clothes that I had, underclothes, shoes, socks, caps, everything had that number stamped on it. And I hated that because that was not my name. We was put in these housing units in these little bitty 6x6 cells. 2 men have to live in those cells and no privacy. You have a bunk bed, 2 feet away from your toilet. So when nature calls, you do nature's business. It's sometimes it smells and odors. Guys don't get along, and because of those kinds of situations. I remember a guy coming to prison, and he got hurt the first day he got there because he wasn't aware of what was going on in that environment. A guy just took a curl board and hit him in his head so hard It just split his head from the front to the back. And told this guy, dropped the curb once and welcome to prison, punk. Those are just some of the horror stories that I could tell. Getting put into this unit the first day, it was me and another guy. First day, 2 guys got stabbed. We saw in that unit. The day I got out, a guy got his throat cut almost from ear to ear. So just so many things that happened in that prison. But I went to fight my case in the law library, and I wrote motions and pleadings and briefs, and then I just wrote hundreds and hundreds of letters from anyone you can think of, from presidents to governors to Oprah Winfrey to the church, you name it, I wrote them. But eventually I wrote a letter to Jesus and said, if you're real, you help me get out of here, I'll serve you and tell the world about you. And that was in 1998, after writing this organization for 10 years, who told me in 1990 that they only help innocent people get out of prison, and they get thousands of requests every year, and that if they took my case, it would be 10 years before they got to my case. That was in 1990. I had saw them on a television program helping a lady get out of a prison in Texas, and the organization is called Centurion Ministries, based in Princeton, New Jersey. And so I was saying they had to help me, and so I wrote them for about 10 years before they took my case, and they got me out 8 years after that. So it was an 18-year process from the first letter. But what I can say is that when I wrote Jesus this letter about challenging him if he was real, it was clearly 3 signs that I saw. Centurion Ministries got the name from the Bible. When Jesus was crucified, that's one sign. The second sign was the man who founded the organization. His name is James. One of Jesus' apostles' name is James. And the third sign is the lead attorney who helped me get out of prison. Her name is Cheryl Pilate, as in Pontius Pilate. So I knew God was, trying to get in touch with me, but I was so full of anger and hate and bitterness. I was in a prison, not physically only, but also spiritually. I was just locked up with hate and anger. And then I read this Bible. Somebody said, read the red letters in the Bible, quote out of Jesus' mouth. And I wanted to read the red letters. And Jesus said, love your enemy. And I hated all the system. Everybody that had something to do with the system, the criminal justice system, I hated it. And he said, pray for them. And I'm thinking, you're right. Jesus, I pray a building for one of them fools. That's what I pray, because I was not a believer. And then he said, forgive them, which was too difficult for me until I read Luke 23:34, where Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I began to pray for people through clenched teeth. I was so angry. Jesus, you know what they did to me. Make them turn around. I was just so angry. Until I said, God, it's too hard for me. I can't forgive them. And it's like God said, no, Darryl, you can't forgive them, but I can forgive them through you, if only you would let me. And that's how the forgiveness began to work. And so God was transforming something inside of me through one verse, Luke 23:34. So I had the fortune and the grace by this organization, Centurion Ministries, to go back, and they found this woman who was a gas station attendant the night the crime was committed, came to my trial in 85 and told me I had the wrong man because I was too dark. My dark skin was coming to my rescue. She said in 1985 to the police in the trial they hid that. That didn't come out to 2007, which was a miracle. She was not a young woman, and all the way in Baltimore, Maryland. So that was just something that I had to also just give God the glory for. One of the key witnesses for the prosecution, they say he had a couple convictions when he had 12. They said he only faced a couple of years when he was facing 30 years. He had done something like this before in other murder cases, and he was just a professional snitch and deal maker. Anytime he got in trouble, he would lie on somebody to get out. And the prosecution, they didn't release any of that information. None of that came out to 2007. So again, a couple of miracles and so many other things, that happens with this case. And so I just say to people today, I'm not bitter, but I'm better because our God is bigger than anything we'd ever face. They arrested me, but God rescued me out of their tragedy. It's used for his treasure, and I give God the glory for this story, and I thank you for listening. I'm in seminary right now. I'm in seminary, and so I'm about to graduate. I'm about 6 weeks before I complete Masters of Divinity course at St. Paul School of Theology here in Leawood, Kansas at the Church of Resurrection. So I'm excited about that. And I go all over giving testimonies and sharing this message with others about wrongful convictions and false imprisonment and the death penalty, and hoping forgiveness message.